Assalamu alaikum, dear students. In this video, we will discuss the solution of assignment that was based on the chemistry of carboxylic acids. Well, the first question was arrange the following carboxylic acids in decreasing order of acidity. So you were given three sets of different carboxylic acids, and you were asked to arrange them. The most acidic carboxylic acid to be the first one, and the least acidic carboxylic acid to be the last one. So let's discuss the first case. And this is the set of four carboxylic acids, and you could see the difference lies in the presence of different halogens. Compound A has a chloro group attached, while B has iodo, C has fluoro, and D has bromo. So you already know from your basic general chemistry that fluorine out of these four is the most electronegative element. Hence, when fluorine attached to this carbon, being most electronegative, will pull the electron density towards itself, which will make this carboxylic to be most acidic, or you could say it will make this hydrogen release easily. Hence, C is the most acidic carboxylic acid among these four because of the fluoro group. And if we follow the same pattern, after fluorine we have the chlorine in the second position, that is the second most electronegative element. So upon the inductively withdrawing effect, it will make compound A to be the second most acidic. And then the bromo containing carboxylic acid will be the third most acidic, and iodo containing carboxylic acid will be the least acidic among these four. For the second part, you were given three carboxylic acids. The difference lies in the presence of bond. The A has the double bond, B has the single bond, and C has the triple bond. You already know that with the double bonded carbons, it means these two carbons are sp2 hybridized, and these two carbons are sp3 hybridized, and these two carbons, this carbon and this carbon, are sp hybridized because triple bonded species has sp hybridization. So with the sp hybridization, we have a 50% character of S, and with the sp2 hybridization, we have 33% character of S orbital, and with the sp3 we have 25% character of S orbital. So higher the number of character S orbital character, we have the more withdrawing effect, because S orbital is nearer to the nucleus of an atom. Hence the more contribution of S orbital will make it more electron withdrawing, and as a result this compound C will be the most acidic among these three because of this sp hybridized carbon that is connected to this carboxylic group. So C is the most acidic, and by this token compound A will be the second most acidic because it has the sp2 carbon that is directly connected to the carboxylic group, and the compound B is the least acidic among these three carboxylic acids. For the part 3, we have the same halogen, that is chloro, attached to different positions, and nearer the halo group is, more acidic the compound is. So by this token, compound B will be the most acidic because it is connected to the alpha position, while compound A has been connected to the beta position. That is why it is the second most acidic compound, and then C is the third most compound, because we know that halogens are electron withdrawing groups. Hence nearer the halo group to the carboxylic group, it will make this carboxylic to be the most acidic. Question number 2 for this assignment, it was during the conversion of carboxylic acid into the acid chloride using oxalyl chloride, one of the intermediates was as follows. Although the breakage of CC bond is not an easy task, how did it occur smoothly in the above intermediate? So here it is the intermediate that was formed when we were trying to convert the carboxylic acid into the acid chloride using the oxalyl chloride. And if you recall, we have also more methods to convert this carboxylic acid into the acid chloride, such as the thionyl chloride or the PCl3 or the PCl5. Well, the question is not about the ways to convert the carboxylic into the acid chloride, but it simply asks during this intermediate, we know that this blue bond, that is the carbon-carbon bond, is broken, and we know uh, out of this intermediate that CC bond breakage is not possible, is not easy. So why does it break here without any hesitation or without any problem? So first of all, let's discuss how this CC bond will be broken. This oxy anion will collapse here. As a result, this CO bond will be broken and we will have the carbon oxygen double bond. And at this level, we will have the breakage of CC bond. We will have this CO triple bond, and then this chlorine will leave. So if you look at carefully, in doing so, we are going to have the formation of the CO2 and the CO along with the chloride, because CO2 from here and CO from here. And we know that carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide are gaseous in nature. So other way around, we could say that this breakage of this intermediate is in fact yielding two gases, and thus making this step quite favorable because of the increase in the entropy. So because of the increase in entropy, this reaction is feasible, and even though the CC bond, which is very difficult to break, it will be broken at the expense of generation of two highly entropically favored gases. Question 3 was, suggest any two routes for the synthesis of benzoic acid starting from the benzene molecule. So it is not a difficult question. It was very easy. We have to start from benzene and we have to end to the benzoic acid. So overall, the benzene is to be replaced with the hydrogen of the benzene is to be replaced with the carboxylic site. So one way is a very simple, that first of all, let us methylate this benzene using methyl chloride and aluminum chloride as a catalyst. We will have this methyl benzene, which is also called the toluene. And then later, in the second step, we may oxidize this benzylic carbon, that is the methyl, into the carboxylic group. Hence, we have got the benzoic acid starting from the benzene in two steps. So what could be the other way to make this benzoic acid? We have one more way. Let us brominate the bromine first, brominate the benzene first using the bromine aluminum chloride. Once bromobenzene has been formed, we may convert this bromobenzene into the Grignard reagent using magnesium metal in the presence of ether. And once the Grignard reagent has been formed, let us carboxylate this Grignard reagent using carbon dioxide, and upon the acidic workup, we may get the benzoic acid. So it is the other route to convert the benzene into the benzoic acid. However, it requires 3 steps, and the route 1 requires only 2 steps. Question 4 was, maleic acid makes anhydride, but fumaric acid does not. Why is it so? And draw the anhydride that forms. So this is the structural formula of maleic acid, and this is the structural formula of fumaric acid. Both are having the same molecular formula but different structural formula. Other way around, we could say both are the isomers. This is a cis, the maleic acid is cis isomer, and the fumaric acid is trans isomer. And we know that carbon-carbon double bond is not rotatable because of the restriction of, which is because of the presence of the p unhybrid orbitals, which are lying perpendicular to the sigma framework, which restricts the rotation. So for the maleic acid, however, we have this sigma single bond may be rotated to have this to make these two hydroxys come closer to each other, and as a result, the water molecule may be departed if we heat this compound, that is the maleic acid. So we will have this maleic anhydride. Maleic anhydride is being formed because we have the two hydroxys closer to each other. However, in case of fumaric acid, the two hydroxys cannot come closer to each other, so we cannot have the fumaric anhydride. So it depends upon the geometry of the molecule that allows whether the anhydride is to be formed or not. Question 5, it says draw the structures of following acids. We have 10 acids, and basically the reason of asking this question was to just ensure that we have very closely named acids in our organic chemistry, such as if you look at compound 1 and compound 2, the only difference is of the letter E. First one is malic acid, the second one is maleic acid. And if you also see the compound 3, it's malonic acid, but the compound 4 is mevalonic acid. The only difference is of presence of E and V in between M and A of the malonic to have the mevalonic acid. And then we have also some very closely linked acids. The closely linked acid is not in the sense of the structure, but in the sense of their name, because you could see all acids are being started with the letter M and are ending into the in the IC. So malic acid, maleic acid, malonic acid, mevalonic acid, mandelic acid, myristic acid, mannonic acid, mannaric acid, mefenamic acid, and mesic acid. So the structures of these acids are these. First of all, let us discuss the malic acid. It is basically a 4-carbon containing dicarboxylic acid with a hydroxy attached to 1 carbon. So this is malic acid. And if we simply dehydrate this malic acid, we will have the maleic acid. But make sure the geometry is cis, not trans, because if it is trans, it is fumaric acid. And for the malonic acid, in fact, if we remove this OH and this CH, or other way around, you could say if we simply connect this CH2 directly to this carboxylic, we will have the malonic acid, which is the 3-carbon compound. And you could see maleic and malonic, all three are dicarboxylic acid. But for the mevalonic acid, it is a monocarboxylic acid, and it is obviously different than these three. For the mandelic acid, we have a benzene ring and a one carboxylic group attached to the benzylic carbon of this compound. And this mandelic acid is present in almond, and we may synthesize in the lab by just treating potassium cyanide to the benzaldehyde and then hydrolyzing the intermediate. Myristic acid is a fatty acid. You could see we have a long chain of alkyl attached to this carboxylic group. Mannonic acid and mannaric acid are basically derived from the sugar mannose. And you know that mannose, when oxidized, it may give the mannonic acid, and it may also give the mannaric acid. It depends upon the strength of the oxidizing agent. If we use a milder oxidizing agent such as bromine, we will have only the aldehydic part of the mannose to be oxidized to have the mannonic acid. But if we use the nitric acid, a harsh or strong oxidizing agent, so both terminal of the mannose, that is the aldehydic portion, and the last carbon that has the primary alcohol, both will be oxidized to have the mannaric acid. And this may look unfamiliar to you, because usually we draw the structure of carbohydrate in the Fischer projection form. So this has become uncommon to draw like this, but this is the more realistic picture, than the Fischer projection, which has a lot of eclipsing interactions. So it's better to draw like these. So this is the structure of mannonic, and this is the mannaric. Mannaric is a dicarboxylic acid. Mannonic is a monocarboxylic acid. With the only difference is of the oxidation of terminal carbon to have the another carboxylic group present. Mefenamic acid is in fact is a painkiller, very common painkiller. It's a generic name. We know this compound as a Ponstan drug. The Ponstan medicine is a painkiller, very common, and this has the 2 aromatic rings linked with the amino group as a secondary amine. So these 9 acids have one thing in common, that is the carboxylic acid, because this assignment was based on the chemistry of carboxylic acid. Now the last molecule, mesic acid, is not the carboxylic acid, it's a sulfonic acid. We just added this name among these 9, with these 9 acids because of the similarity in the name. This is basically a short version of the whole name, that is methane sulfonic acid. So methane sulfonic acid, as the name suggests, we have the methyl and then sulfonic acid, and in short we call it mesic acid. So you could consider this mesic acid with the tosic acid. You must have heard the name tosic acid, which is the which has the full name as para-toluene sulfonic acid. If you simply replace this methyl with the benzene ring and then place the methyl at the para position of the benzene, we will call it para-methyl sulfonic acid. In short, we call it tosic acid. So you could say mesic acid is a younger brother of the tosic acid. So these are the 10 acids which have similarity in their names. Question 6 was about the reaction between the DCC, that is called the dicyclohexyl carbodiamide, and water. So this is the structure of DCC, as the name suggests. Dicyclo, we have the dicyclohexyl groups which are attached to the terminal, and carbodiamide, this is the carbo, the central carbon, and we have the two imide bonds present. And you could simply judge that the central carbon must be electrophilic, in fact very much electrophilic, because of attachment with the two electronegative elements on both sides, and also because of this unsaturation. So when water attacks, it must attack to the central carbon, and when it attacks, we have a breakage of C-N bond. We may break any C-N bond because the molecule is symmetrical, so there is no issue of the regioselectivity. So say let's break the left-hand side nitrogen, carbon-nitrogen bond. As a result, we will have the negative charge here and OH2 positive charge. And then after the proton shifting, the H will come here and we will have the OH here. So if you compare the starting material with this product, it's a simply hydration. OH is added to this carbon and H is added to this nitrogen. And if you look at this part, the COH and the C double bond N, so it's a tautomer basically. If you simply move this pi bond here between the CO, the H will move. As a result, the H will move here, and we will have the amide bond here from the right hand side and another amide from the left hand side. So the carbonyl group directly connected to 2 nitrogen is called urea if we have the 2 amino groups, and then if we have the derivative, it's called the urea derivative. So this reaction basically, the reason of asking this question was when we were discussing the conversion of carboxylic acid into the amide. We discussed that if we take a coupling agent and then treat with the amine nucleophile, we may have the amide. So DCC is one of the coupling agents that was used in the mechanism. If you recall the chemistry of carboxylic acid, first of all, the OH of the carboxylic acid attacked the DCC, and after many steps, at the very end, we got this dicyclohexyl urea as the byproduct along with our desired product, that was the amide. Question 7, this is the last question of this assignment. It says, although one equivalent of organolithium adds to carboxylic acid to convert it into a ketone, why do we bother to use the two equivalents? So this is the equation for the conversion of carboxylic acid into the ketone. And if you see, overall one OH is the OH of this carboxylic group has been replaced with the R prime, which must have come from this organolithium. So apparently we see that only one equivalent has been added. So why do we bother using two equivalents? So this is a question. So the answer is basically hidden in the mechanism, and I'm not showing here the whole mechanism. We will simply discuss the case. First of all, let us recall that organolithium is a very powerful nucleophile, but it is also a very powerful base. So you must know the difference between the nucleophile and the base. Nucleophile is an electron-rich species that simply attacks to something that has electron deficient, but the base is very specific nucleophile. Base is a nucleophile, but nucleophile is not necessarily a base. So base is something that seeks the proton and to be protonated, and hence the first step will not be the attack of this R prime to this carbonyl carbon. Rather, it will simply pull this acidic proton to have this RH, that is the alkane formation and the carboxylate salt. And then the second equivalent of this organolithium will attack to this carbonyl, and will after the workup we will have the ketone. So you could say the first equivalent of organolithium did not serve as a nucleophile but served as a base. So this was our compulsion to use the another equivalent, because the second equivalent is the real equivalent that added to the molecule to have the ketone. We cannot bypass this H and make this RLi attack the carbonyl in the presence of OH. If there is OH present, that is the carboxylic acid, the first step must be the acid-base reaction. There is no way to have the entry of this RLi to this carbonyl in the presence of OH. And if you don't want this OH to be deprotonated, so you will have to use the two equivalent. You will have to replace this OH with something else, such as the ester or anything else. Otherwise, you will have to see the acid-base reaction first, and then the second equivalent will go to the carbonyl and have the ketone formed. So these are the 7 questions that were asked in the assignment, and these are the answers of those assignments. I hope you enjoyed the video lecture that was shared prior, and the assignment that was asked to you, and these solution. So thank you.